is a generic guide for doing the 12-week years, or 12-week year. uh, so I just put out one for YouTube that talked about why it worked for me, an overview of what it was. And then I have a second video coming out that is all about the ins and outs of setting it up. So technically you could watch that video that's coming out and just think replace YouTube with any other goal that you have, because it breaks down how to set up the cards within the dividers, what to do as far as formatting the cards go. And I made it specific for YouTube because it was based off of what I had done last that was effective, and so I could speak from that. This first run of the 12-week year with index cards was for Etsy, and I haven't really shared too much about it, but it was very similar to what I did with YouTube, and it was pretty effective as well. I didn't reach my number goal that I had set up, but in every other way it worked. So I don't feel comfortable specifically setting up a card for someone on a goal that I haven't done yet, but I can try as far as keeping this really generic. Hi! Oh my gosh, somebody's on live. I hope you can see this because I'm on 5G on the marina. The internet is not great. It takes me hours, like an entire day sometimes, to upload videos. And I was just reading that people watch videos on their TV more often, and you're supposed to be uploading it in 4K. YouTube is suggesting that you do more 4K videos, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. But anyway, so this is setting up your 12-week year generically, right? So to do that, this is my little box that I have my future 12-week years in. So in my bag right now, I have everything up until May. And then in the box chilling out is May onward. So we'll use just this as an example. So my next 12-week year I already have set up is starting on May 5th. So I have that in the calendar. So you have your, oh gosh, the other video is going to be so much more effective if you can just think not YouTube, any other goal that you have. The point of the 12-week year is that you are taking any goal that you have for yourself. So for example, I saw someone say that they're going to use the 12-week year card to get started for scripture, which I thought was an awesome way, not even to just get started, to just use this method, because you're focusing on one specific thing that you're trying to grow or improve on. And by the way, I apologize for my wet hair. I haven't blow dried it yet. Now that people are watching it, I'm really self-conscious that I didn't try and look nicer. Hi, Irene. It's very nice to meet you here on the live stream. All right, so going back. So you're digging everything in a 365-day period and shortening it down into those 12 weeks, because the thought is that you are going to procrastinate until the very last second to try and improve that piece. So why not just do it sooner and get it over with? Which I think is an awesome idea. In the 5 a.m. Club, which is a book I just recently read again, I read it back in 2020. It's not the best book. I think I like where he was going with it to make it kind of like an alchemist type of a feel, but it is hard to read sometimes. But he talks about the psychology behind creating habits and pushing through and making it through 66 days with the habit to make it just something that you do without thinking about. Thank you. I am also a procrastinator. So I like the idea of setting time limitations for yourself at the 12 weeks, but there's also this other piece where there's a lot of our goals have to do with how, at least I shouldn't say a lot, the ones that I'm thinking of that I'm trying to improve on this year, a lot of it has to do with creating healthy, good habits that you can do consistently. And so just the number thing and doing it and giving yourself a time frame has been helpful. So that's the big thing with the 12-week year, right? Is just shortening it down, giving yourself limitations. And then the second thing is in the goal that you're choosing. The book talks about 3 different goals that you can work with. They say 1 to 3. In my experience, especially the last time, because I really wanted to work on I'm writing a novel, and I really wanted to work on it during NaNoWriMo, but at the same time I was doing a YouTube video goal. And the NaNoWriMo thing failed so miserably because it started later on in the goal, and I was working towards it and everything, but for me, just my mind needs to focus on one thing at a time. And when it comes to growth, it wasn't to say that I wasn't still writing, and it wasn't to say I wasn't still supporting people on my Etsy shop or doing some like small healthy habits, but I was really focused in on one area of growth, which is really effective. So there's the time frame, there's picking really good goals where you're really specific and you're super focused on one thing that you're monitoring, that you're saying these are the different things that I'm going to take care of during this time, and you're giving yourself a score on that area. So setting it up with the index cards, you have your little card deck that you have. I keep it all in one card deck for me, so I'm managing my household, like one-off things. What else am I doing in here? I have some fun cards. I have some boat cards that, as far as maintenance goes, is in here. So it's all in one card deck for me. However, there's no reason why you couldn't create yourself a 12-week year card deck and just work from a planner or work with Google Calendar. The whole point of using the card deck is in gamifying it. And it's not even really gamifying. It's just creating this fun thing that you can touch and feel. And it's just when you have a moment and you're in your car, you can thumb through your cards. And then on top of that, there's the idea that it really helps you focus on one thing at a time. So you have your card deck. You're choosing to either create one specifically all by itself, that is a 12-week year tracker, journal, to-do list type of a card deck, or you're incorporating it with your general life card deck. Then you have your dividers. So I have 1 through 12 weekly dividers, one for each week within the 12-week year. So it looks like this. And this is a free generic planner card. I have it linked in other videos that you can download, print, cut them out. So this is just printer paper. It's really easy to replace if you need to make modifications in your planning system. And I, along with those, sorry, I'm reading comments and trying to stay focused. This live stream, I haven't done it in a while because we haven't been able to. Oh, I'm so glad that you like it. Okay, so then you have your planner card, or the plan divider, just here. So those are the dividers that you're working with. And then you also have your date dividers, right? So I have a product called Just Date Dividers, so you could purchase that. And then I think it's planner cards. This is 20% off code, so you can use that to even get it for less money. Print those off, cut them out, and they look like, and they include these calendars too, because I think this is a really helpful piece within that. They look like this. So here's the monthly one. I don't have any of the dates because I'm using them currently. They all get shuffled, so you're not creating new date dividers every month. They're already there, and then you shuffle them as the dates go by. And I have so many different videos you can watch about how to do that. But you have your 12-week year cards, which are those generic dividers and generic cards. And then you have your Just Date dividers, or you can, of course, make them yourself too, where it's numbered 1 through 31. You have the months of the year and any other miscellaneous dividers that you need. So, for example, if you're doing something along the lines of memorizing scripture, you might want to have a divider that's specifically for verses, like verses completed, not completed, that kind of thing. You could have a note area, note divider, where you're just taking notes on maybe how different people interpret things. I don't know, there's so many different ways you could do trackers, like those cute like reading trackers people do, or calendars, all sorts of fun stuff. So you have that set up, your dividers, and then setting yourself up a monthly calendar card where you're going to reference that. So as something's completed, whether it's a date divider or whatever it is, it gets shuffled, and then you're using this as reference. So if you are going to do a task every Monday, you would shuffle it. All you're seeing is this 6 on your divider. You're not seeing a Monday divider. You would take the card that's asked for a weekly task and move it from that Monday over to the next Monday. So you'll know that's on the 13th. You can do 6 to 13, and then you won't have to reference your phone or have anything else. Because like I said, oftentimes I'm in the car or waiting on my laundry, and I'm just pulling them from my bag. For me, the card deck really works most effectively if it's not left on the kitchen counter. But really part of my life, and especially I think a lot of people nowadays, we're pulled in so many different directions that it really is you're outside of your home so often. Okay, so let's see. If you have any questions too, you can always chat them, leave them in the comments later on if I keep this video up, and then I'll try and reply to them quickly. So with the calendar card, you're just going to start off by choosing when you want to start your 12-week year. The beauty of the 12-week year, rather than quarterly type of a thing, you can start it whenever you want. I'm doing 3 12-week years, so I give myself some space in between so I can just make sure that I'm continuing with that goal and celebrating, enjoying the time, and then being able to have time to plan for my next 12-week year and make sure I have all the resources I need and in the right mindset. And then you're going to go ahead and highlight the start of your 12-week year. I'm a Sunday start girl. You could do Mondays too. In the Just Date dividers, I have Sunday and Monday start, thanks to people who have purchased my products and made suggestions. I try my best to make sure I get those done quickly. You have the highlighted piece as well as the week number. And I reference that a lot, especially when you're doing different stages or different projects within the 12 weeks. You can see, oh, I think this is going to be a good time to do halfway through my 12-week year, and then figure out what that time frame is or where you need to put that card. So you're going to highlight your months, and then go ahead and take like a piece of paper or something like that, and I was going to say brain dump, but I really don't like that phrase. You're going to do conscious, what's that called, where you write down what you're thinking. So any area of your life. So for me, for the next one is going to be about writing. For this one, it was on fitness. And so I wrote about all of the things that I want to see happen as far as that goal goes. What do I want to look like? What do I want to feel like? What do I want to do in order to reach that goal? Who are the people I need to meet? That type of thing. So you just write and write and write. So like morning pages, Julia Cameron suggests doing at least 3 pages, because by page 2 is when you're really in your flow and you're like figuring things out. And so you just write and write and write and write and figure out where it is that you want to be, and then who you need to meet to be there, what tasks you need to do to get there. And then you take those pages of that stream of consciousness writing, and you're going to put that into the plan divider. So you take any of the tasks that you mentioned or people you need to meet. You take the big goal at the top and just make it really, really simple. So for me, it was something like improve my fitness. And you write that in the middle. And you can use a bigger piece of paper to begin with, and then you branch off. So this is mind mapping your goal. It's a concept that I learned from Passion Planner. And it's such a fantastic idea because it really allows you to visualize what it is that you need to do when you want to do it, that type of thing. So you write your goal in the middle and then branch off into different categories. And you might see the categories as you go, or maybe it's something that you figured out prior to getting to that mind mapping stage. You write your goal in the middle, map it out, and then notice the categories if you can. And then from there, determining what tasks that you really want to focus on. And you're going to take the index cards. So they're just blank dot grid index cards. I print off about 40 to get started with. So they look like this. And you can color code them if you're using multiple cards. I took different highlighters for the YouTube piece and highlighted the different categories, so you could definitely do that too. Your category goes up on the upper left hand side. On the upper right hand side is the time it's going to take, just like the Sidetracked Home Executive ladies did. But the thing is that you don't need to write down, hi mom, just saw your notification. You don't need to write the time here yet. You could write an estimated piece, and this was really helpful, especially for YouTube, because I was able to time and see how long things really took me, because in my brain, just like when you're cleaning the house, you often have this like misinformation. What's that word where it's like you have this idea in your head that it's going to take you a certain amount of time, and it either takes you longer or less time. And when, in my experience, it's often the items that you don't want to do, you'll find it takes a lot less time. The things that you love to do, you'll find takes so much more time than you think. So being realistic with that. So giving yourself like an estimated timepiece here. You write the task here in the middle, and then below it a short description if you need a description. For me, what I did was write notes for the YouTube piece. For fitness, I did habit trackers, and I can definitely talk about that too if you're watching and you want to know more about the habit tracker piece. You have to think as simple as possible on these cards, because the whole beauty of the index card system is the focus it provides you. So if you're tracking 8 different habits, like I found it so ineffective for me personally, and also ineffective in that it wasn't necessarily causing me to do the habit, but it was more importantly making me feel frustrated, which is not what you want with this. You're trying to feel better. So just making sure that you're trying to make it as simple as possible, focusing on one task if you can. And then you touch those tasks throughout the day, shuffling them throughout your day. Like as you get going, if you have one thing to do, if you have some time, you take out the task, you set it on your desk, and you're focused on that one thing. And then at the end of the day, you can go through, see what it is that you didn't do, what should be skipped, if you should just get rid of the task, that type of thing. Oh, that's so nice. Hello from Alabama. Hello from Washington. It's pretty windy out here, so hopefully you're not hearing too much of the wind, which is a bummer. But anyway, so you have these task cards, and you're going to schedule them based off of when it is that you want to complete them. Some are going to be recurring, so you'll want to write like weekly or daily here, or it could be category based, so video. So those are more project based pieces. So for me, one of the things with fitness was that I wanted to check our water, or have like a plan to make sure that my water was a good quality, because we're going to different marinas, that type of thing. So I had a project-based card there. And so that was a one-off card. I was only going to take care of it that one time. So you can play around with those cards. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but the video on the YouTube card specific, again, if you watch it, just replace the YouTube with any other goal that you have. So as you complete the weeks, you then place the weekly cards, those weekly dividers. Once the week is finished, it goes in front of the plan divider. And that way, what you're doing is taking any task cards that you have that pertain to week 1, you're keeping track of them. So you can look back at 6 weeks and give yourself an evaluation. You can look back at the end of 12 weeks, see what worked and what didn't work and what you want to continue forward with. But you're keeping all the task cards that were completed, or any other little items that pertain to your goal for that 1 week in front of week 1, which goes in front of the plan divider in your planner card deck. Going into the weekly dividers, these are scorecards, which is one of the things that I found really effective with the 12-week year, is this concept of the scorecard. You write down, this week I am, and everything should be very affirmative in that type of language, where it's not like, I don't know, it's very straight to the point, because you're reading these and it does something to your brain that says, that's just like your feet are just moving before you think about it. That was a big part, or a big theme within the 5-week or the 5 a.m. club, was the idea that you were trying to remove your brain and your thinking process from any kind of action that you're trying to do to reach your goal. So making it as easy as possible, keeping cards simple by making sure all of your resources that you need are all set and ready to go, that you have affirmations, that you have a vision board, all these different things that are going to just support you, especially if you're doing the 12-week year or any type of goal without a mentor or without a support group. The 12-week year talks about creating, and I've talked to a couple people through the YouTube channel about creating an accountability group, which I think is so awesome and would be really nice for me. But if you don't have that resource, the book talks about the idea that you really should become accountable to yourself. And so the scorecard helps you do that. I fill out the scorecard at the beginning of the week, or technically at the end of the day on the 7th day, or the beginning when I'm kind of evaluating it on a Sunday morning. You write, this week I am, you write the list of the cards. So when you've created all your task cards, you batch them in different weeks that you want to make sure that they're being taken care of. And then once you reach that week, you then create the list of things. So this is not acting as a to-do list for you. You're never going to reference this until that one weekly accountability meeting day. And this is just acting as a scorecard. Hi, Mom. So you have on the right side, this week I am, you have your list of cards that you're going to be taking care of. Then you have on the right hand side, I say they're level ups just because to me it sounds fun. It sounds like a game, but you could say whatever it is that you're trying to like track. So for fitness for me, I was only tracking one thing, and that was my stomach circumference. And so I was only writing that one thing down. And then based off of what you were able to accomplish at the end of the week, you're looking at all of your task cards and you're crossing them off, giving yourself a score. So you say if you have 8 task cards, you're going to write out of 8 up at the top. And then in the week, see what it was that you were able to accomplish. If you do 6 out of 8, that's phenomenal. You write 6 out of 8 and then write down whatever it is that end point. It's lead and lag. So these are the lead items. The lag is what it is that's showing proof of your progress. And so if those two don't match up, it's something where you need to reevaluate. And the nice thing about the cards versus doing it in a planner or any other type of place where you're keeping track of it is that I'm setting up my 12-week year well in advance. So I'm not thinking about it. Again, like removing as much brain power as you can from the situation. So I'm not thinking about it again throughout the 12-week year until there's certain evaluation points, or I can know, oh, this feels a little sticky here. I need to make a change. But what was I getting to that with? You're not using brain power. But as you go, you're able to then just say, okay, this is something that needs to change. And after a couple weeks, if it still needs to be changed, then you need to take the task cards for those weeks and either recycle them, put them in your blank so you can reuse them, or skip them, make different changes. And so it's all really flexible. So you can just take those task cards out and do it. You don't have a paper trail that says you're failing at this. I think there's just something really mentally that shows that you're making progress. You don't want to be able to look back at checklists that weren't taken care of. So being really honest with yourself is important too, where you're making that to-do list or that like the list of all the items you wanted to do at the start of your week, and you're really listing out all the things that you had planned. And that way you can be, the look at your lead versus lag is going to make a lot more sense and give you some real honest feedback. So that's your scorecard. At the beginning, at the top, I like to write the affirmation for whatever goal it is that I'm doing. I think I could definitely work on making better affirmations. And I know there's like some woo-woo-ness with that where you're trying, there's that manifesting option, but even more realistically, for anyone that doesn't like that aspect of affirmations or vision boarding, I love affirmations and vision boarding when you're working on the 12-week year or when you're working in your card deck, because just like flashcards, you're focusing on one thing, and also you're just reminding your brain of where it is that you want to be. Versus when I go to the grocery store, one of the hardest things right now for me is not eating candy. But it's everywhere. It's at the check stands. There's advertisements for it. I'm constantly being bombarded with the idea that candy is really good and you should want to eat it. And so just one little card that's just saying, hey, Jen, you're free of sugar. Hooray. That kind of thing. It's just a nice little trigger for me, especially when you go into the tasks. And the last thing you want to do is take care of that task. Or maybe you're feeling, you're dragging your feet. Just a little reminder, like, this is actually really good. The planning portion of the 12-week year. That's a really good question. So the 12-week year process, I recorded on video the last couple ones I did. And I think I sit down like this because I'm doing it on video. I have an hour when my husband goes off to go paddleboard. We're on a boat, and so it's just nice to have a quiet space to record. And so it takes, I think it took me maybe an hour or 2 hours for the YouTube one, maybe a little bit longer than that. But again, the way that I see it is that I was going to pay $1,000 for a YouTube program that I really didn't know if it was going to be effective, if I was going to follow through with it. And in this case, I'm setting myself up and doing the work, and it feels more like homeschool to me, where I'm in charge of my learning process or whatever kind of growth process it is. And with the cards, you can make adjustments. My weekly accountability meetings will vary. Sometimes I'll do the full thing where at the end of the week you also want to ask yourself a question or record how it is that it went. And those can take anywhere from where I'm in the ferry, I've done it like in the 10 minutes in between, or it could take 30 minutes where I'm writing down and like being really thorough. But planning it, definitely taking the time to do a good job and a thorough job where the last one I didn't do all 12 weeks. I did it kind of generically where I knew my first one was going to be about nutrition. The second phase was going to be about like strength. And the third one was about walking. And I would definitely do my last 12-week year differently. But just to like give you a broad overview of that. So I knew in general terms what it was that I was going to do each week. And I put my task cards in front of the different weeks leading up to it, but I didn't really schedule too much, if that makes sense. So you have to stay kind of open. With the YouTube piece, I did the same thing where I scheduled the first 6 weeks, and I didn't do anything up until I did the first 6 weeks. And I think that was pretty effective. I'm pretty sure that's what I did, because you're going to make so many different changes. So yeah, it does take time. But again, I think that's also really rewarding because you're in charge of what it is that you're doing. It feels good. So you have your week 1 through 12 dividers where they're acting as your scorecard. You're keeping all this information there. And when I talk about journaling and writing, I write it on the back of the scorecard. And again, these generic ones, they're just called planner cards in my videos, and you can print them off for free. I have a playlist for 12-week year cards too that goes through the different processes. My big thing of why I wanted to do the index cards for the 12-week year initially was because for like 6 months, I was thinking, and even off and on throughout the years, how can I get rid of my planner? Because it was just one other additional item. I was using the index card system for sidetracked home executives, home management, and it was the one thing in my life that was always consistent. It's just like, it works. Those ladies were onto something. And I know there's so many different other iterations of it now, but I just really love the way that they talked about it in the book and the way that they set it up. And I wanted to take my planner and put it into my cards somehow. And for the longest time, that was something I wanted to do. And then I read the 12-week year, and it felt like that was more approachable when you're doing 12 weeks of planning. So that was the whole concept behind it, was that I just didn't want to work from the planner anymore. And plus, with the planner, I don't know, it feels like if you don't get something done, it feels crushing. You see it and you have to white it out, or you have blank planner pages. I think so much of us being able to accomplish things and do what it is that we want to do is about how we feel, and setting yourself up to feel good is important. And that goes into what the goal is that you chose. Are you like even 90% sure that you're going to actually accomplish the goal? I think that's super important, because even though my first 12-week year, I did the Etsy thing, I filled out, I have so many more products from it. I learned a lot about Etsy, and I grew as an Etsy shop owner. But because I chose the wrong number as far as what my lag was going to be, I felt so defeated at the end. And it's only now that I'm like, that was actually pretty good. You did okay. So anyway, being really realistic when you think about those SMART goals, I think that's so important. And that goes into why the index cards are fun for me with this, because even if I'm not doing well or if I have to reevaluate my goal, all I do is just take the card out and recycle it. There's no, I don't know. And then each week you're writing down why it is that you're making those changes. I'm glad it's not just me about the procrastination and trying to feel good. I know, feeling defeated is just so lame. It really is. You have to go in and know that there's a good chance, even if you're just tricking your mind every day too. I think that's another part of the vision boards that's really helpful. You're just tricking your mind saying, this is the future that I'm living in and this is going to be what's happening. I think so much of that is important. So anyway, that's all that you do with the 12-week year. You have your task cards, you have your weekly cards that act as the scorecard. You have these dividers that set up the planning aspect of it. So dates 1 through 31, the monthly cards that go January, February, March, April, May, that kind of thing. And then you're shuffling it as the days go by. You're marking down when your week starts. Fill out your task cards ahead of time or as much as you can, and then schedule them each week. And then moving forward, so let's say you have all your task cards figured out. They're scheduled each week. Then as the week comes up, or as the dates dividers get shuffled forward and your week comes up, then you are able to place those task cards in the days that you're most likely to be able to accomplish them. So that happens. I do my planning on Saturdays. I try to do it Saturday morning, but you could do it just as easily on a Sunday or on a Monday morning. And then you put those task cards where it is that you want to do. And as you go through the week, so Tuesday morning comes, my first things I do, I think you might have seen it in videos, I look at my monthly card, I look at my vision board, I look at the affirmation cards, and then you start working your cards. And as a task comes up, or when you're able to do it, you take it out of your card deck, you set it down on the table, and you're focused on that one card, and then it gets shuffled, and it just feels really good. One other thing with that, what was I going to say? Well, I can't think of it, but let me go over really fast the trackers. I'm going to do a video on it eventually. Let me find one that's a good one. So here's the fitness one for week 2. See, this will not go for me. So I had task cards for each one. Now that I made it a mess, I won't be able to pull out. That's another thing that's kind of something you have to think about with the task cards, is that you have to, if you drop them or anything like that, then they're going to be out of order. Somebody brought that up and I was like, yeah, that's a real danger. So here's an example. This was a move card, and it was tracking specifically movement. So I had different categories. There was move, sleep, nutrition. I think it was that 3. And I was tracking for each day depending on how often I wanted to do it. And then I was tracking my waist down at the bottom and giving myself a score on each of those habit tracker cards. Then that got moved over to my scorecard with a certain list here too. Then the level ups was more question based with the measurement for my lag, which was again my stomach. And then I didn't write anything on the back there because I think I was still doing journaling. So I was writing on a card every day what it was that I was eating and how I was feeling and that type of thing. So the habit trackers, you can have fun with it and, do whatever it is. But I think the overarching motto for me personally moving forward is to always remember simple is best. The more simple, the better, especially with the 12-week year. The simpler your goal can be, the more effective it's going to be. I think that was a lot of rambling because I didn't really think about sitting down and doing a video for you guys. Somebody asked me for help on setting up the 12-week year, and I'm more than happy to help anyone. Most of my messages that I get as far as questions that I'm really able to make sure that I respond quickly is through Etsy. On Etsy, there's like a little mail icon. So if you click on the mail thing and then just ask me a specific question, I can get back to you right away. And then also I've done screen recordings for people that help. It's just about having specific questions and I can answer them. I know I talk quickly. It's something I get excited about, talking about the cards. Part of the reason why, I know I was talking to another YouTuber about this, where you have a lot to say and you're excited to talk about it, and then the people around you just, they're not into index cards, and it's like, gotta talk to someone about it. So I apologize if I'm speaking too quickly, but again, there's like many other videos that you can look at. And then also I'll do a vlog maybe later this week with some 12-week year stuff. And then I have, like I said, there's a video of me looking at my cards where it's looking down on the cards, and it is specifically about YouTube, but all you have to do is replace the word YouTube with any other goal that you want. So anyway, there's a couple other suggestions for videos too that I want to get into, like creating vision board cards. For me, making the cards as pretty as possible is really important because it's something about the prettier it is, the more organized and clean and tidy it is, the more likely you're going to actually use it. And on Instagram, I started following a lot of people that are in mixed media, and they do insanely beautiful things with index cards. So there's so many different creative things or ways that you could take this to. So anyway, I hope that was really helpful. Look for the YouTube video. And if you have a specific question, reach out. I'd love to help. But I hope you have a great week. Thanks, guys. Thank you for coming live. I can't believe people came live. I was so excited. I can't believe this happened. Hopefully you can actually see the video, because last time I tried to do a live, it was on the internet and it kept cutting out because we're on Starlink. And whenever we were turning, we were on Anchor, and Starlink would reposition and I would just go off. So anyway, this is pretty nice being able to do it on my phone. It is like a vertical space, which is kind of a bummer, but what can you do? And it would have been nice to be able to do Instagram simultaneously too, because I do enjoy being on Instagram because I can talk to people in real time and like ask questions or answer questions, and I like to see how you guys are using the cards and what you're doing, because a lot of people that I interact with on here are also creative, so they're doing some form of art or writing, and it's just really cool to see. So anyway, thanks guys, have a good week.